the U.S. Right now, they passed a bill close to $3 trillion. By the time they're done, Aki, they're going to be at $10 trillion. Canada as well, we'll hit $1 trillion for sure. We'll hit $1 trillion. That's just us. I mean, I think for the very first time in history, we're going to be kicking around the word gazillion dollars.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is your girl, Aki. Welcome to the Financially Savvy Girl podcast, where we provide you financial intelligence for your personal financial growth. It has been a while, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Welcome to season 3. This is episode 16, but we are now in season 3, and this is our very first episode of this season, and I'm super excited. Okay, guys, so it's 2020, and let's just be honest, it has been an interesting year so far. I mean, we have had a weird year. We started the year with Kobe Bryant and 8 other people dying in a helicopter crash at the end of January, and ended the first quarter of the year with COVID-19 pandemic, causing all of us to be in social isolation, either working from home, caring for loved ones who are sick as a result of this, or some people are even losing their jobs and their livelihood. This is a global pandemic. The entire world is affected. We're seeing a market crash. Stimulus packages are being released by government officials across the globe. And people are frankly sitting there wondering what to do in their personal finance, including in real estate. You know, so it's kind of like this fine line where you're sort of between not wanting to allow fear of this pandemic cripple you from really benefiting and seeing the economic opportunity that it provides to all of us. So the market has crashed, and some banks' interest rates are also at their lowest. So this is why I really wanted to kick off this season by inviting a guest speaker, a serial real estate investor, none other than Alfonso Cuadra, to help everyday investors like you and I navigate through financial intelligence through COVID-19. So welcome to the Financially Savvy Girl podcast, Alfonso.
Well, thank you for having me. I didn't know I was a financially savvy girl, but
well, you're in the inner circle.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Aki. It's a pleasure to be here. I am excited to provide this type of information to your audience.
Thank you so much, Alfonso. And before we dive further into our discussions, please allow me to properly introduce you. So guys, Alfonso is a dynamic leader who is absolutely passionate about sharing his story and inspiring others to create the life they want and never give up on their dreams. He truly is in the business of changing lives, and has a special gift in his ability to connect people and move them forward. He's the president and CEO of the Cuadra Group of companies, founders of the Cuadra Youth Foundation, a real estate investor with 20 plus years experience. He has shared his stories with thousands of audiences around the world. He is a devoted father of 2 girls, respected entrepreneur, professional speaker, TV host, successful coach, author. I am running out of breath, just the amount of experience that he has. But you know what? There's more. So let's just go on with it, right? So he's featured in the Reader's Digest, which did a 7-page profile that was published in 16 different countries in 5 different languages. He's a TV host. He's a producer of 2 Rogers TV channel 22 shows called Success by Design Show and Ottawa Expert. He is also author of the book From the Ground Up, Your 3 Steps Away from Living the Life of Your Dreams. You can pick that up on Amazon, guys. An award-winning business and real estate investor, educator, trainer, coach, mentor to thousands of students across in the US and Canada. Alfonso believes that with the right mindset, anyone can take advantage and charge of their life and design their own success. He is also, guys, one of my mentor and a scheduled speaker at the upcoming Financially Savvy Girl event, Level Up Your Personal Finance, that had to be
That's right.
postponed.
That's right.
So I cannot wait. Looking forward to it. Alfonso, I am so excited. It is such an honor and pleasure to have you on the podcast. So welcome, welcome.
It's my pleasure, Aki. My pleasure.
So, Alfonso, essentially on this episode, I'm hoping that we can transfer people's fear into faith by providing financial intelligence in their real estate journey through COVID-19. And I can't think of someone better to do that but you. So I know that you have over 20 years of experience in real estate investment. I know that at some point in your life, you had essentially nothing. So can you just start by telling us about that, the journey up?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of a glimpse into my story. I came here as a refugee from El Salvador. In fact, I was in 2 civil wars. Had issues integrating into school growing up as a refugee here in Canada, and ultimately got frustrated, dropped out of high school, became homeless at 15 years old, and I had a life-changing moment at 17 where I became a father, and that little girl transformed me, changed my life, allowed me to look at myself instead of blaming other people for my problems. I looked back at myself, and I took responsibility over my own life. And at 17, I started a company. That was 24 years ago. I started a company, and by the time I was 21, that company was grossing in the millions with locations across Canada. And later on, I got into, in my early 20s, at 21, I got into my first property, where I discovered the power of real estate in this idea of having an asset class that's indestructible. And having gone through this C19, now I realize the power of that in its full form. So I was also an investor and a business owner during 9/11. I was an investor and a business owner during 2008. And I remember the feeling before, and I remember the feeling afterwards. And I know that life was never, from looking back, life was never the same again.
Right.
And this is a similar type of feeling when there's this dark cloud over us, and it almost feels hopeless. But I'm here to tell you, Aki, and I'm here to tell your audience that we will get out of this. I mean, this is going to pass. This is going to be sometime in the near future. This will be in the past. The question is, how are you going to look like at the other side? Are you going to be someone that thrived during this time, or are you stagnant, or are you going to be worse off than you were when before this even started?
Wow, that is so true and such valuable information. And, just if we can just wheel back a little bit, I had no idea that you were homeless in your teenage years. It's crazy. I mean, for those who don't quite know, Alfonso, before I even make further comments on that, can you just let us know, as far as the wealth of your investment today, like just in a ballpark, how many properties would you say that today, just 24 years or so after, how many properties do you own, or, just what are the different sources of income that you have?
Yeah, so I have 11 different companies. All of my companies gross in the millions. I have a portfolio across Canada, a real estate portfolio of multifamily apartment buildings. And so we're closing in on 500 doors. Our goal, our next 5-year goal, is to get to 7,500 doors, and which seems ambitious, but my 10-year goal is to get to 75,000.
Wow, that's insane. And I want to say unreal, but certainly it is real, because look what you've been able to do just in 24 years, from being homeless to having multiple properties to having multiple companies and multiple sources of income. That is the true dream of an entrepreneur. And you're such an inspiration. I was just speaking to someone earlier, and I was saying that, if this was a time machine, like if COVID-19 today was a time machine allowing us to look back at 2020, the market crash, what do we wish, or what do you, the listener, wish that you had done in 2020 that you might regret having not done years from now? And so when you talk about having lived through 9/11 as an investor and a business, and the dark clouds around that, and having lived through 2008 and 2009 as the dark cloud around those period of time, the market crash, and you were an investor and you were a business owner. If we were in a time machine right now in this podcast episode, and we're listening to this or watching this, what would you want to tell people about 2020 from an investor, a real estate investor perspective, what they can do today so that they don't have regrets about it tomorrow?
The moment this and by the way, investors knew this was about, there was going to be something like this. We were due for another correction in the market.
Right.
And so it doesn't come as a surprise how it came about. I think it was a little bit forced onto us, and never would I ever, even in my wildest dreams, imagined something like what happened. I mean, doesn't it feel like we're in a movie?
It really does. It really does. And I don't even want to name the movie Contagious, but
it keeps popping up on my Netflix, recommended for me to watch. I'm like, I am not watching that movie.
Alfonso, I caved in one night at like 10 p.m. Everyone was in bed. And I said, you know what? I'm not a big fan of like turning on Netflix during the day, but it's night. Everyone is sleeping. Let me turn this on. I turned it on. I watched this movie and I had chills. But anyways, I'll just let you watch it yourself, and you tell me if it reminds you of anything.
Yeah, so, I can't help to think about 2008.
Right.
And what I was doing. Now, I did take action in 2008. And the reason I took action, because I remembered all the opportunities that I missed during 9/11. Now, of course, all these things are things that are unfortunate in the marketplace. They're unfortunate. People actually died, lost their lives. And so I want to make sure that we're sympathetic to that. And, we're not telling people to take advantage of people while they're down. But The truth is, there's going to be opportunities as a result of what's happening. And all you need to do is just be in a position where you can capture these opportunities. So I keep going back to 2008, and I keep asking myself, what would I have done differently, knowing now in hindsight exactly what happened and how everything unfolded? Because it seems and it feels very similar. And even though the circumstances are different, but the overwhelming feeling of the stock market, and then following real estate always has a lag, and so it has a very similar feeling to it. And I think nothing will ever be the same again. Now, 2020, at the very beginning, when all this started, people tend to panic, and I'm not here to tell anybody not to worry, because I know you're going to worry, and that's normal. That's a human reaction. Now, what I do tell people is, if you want to be able to capture the opportunities, there's going to be a process, and I'm going to give you, 3 different steps that you're going to follow. For example, the very first thing that you need to do is stand in your truth. And I've been telling people this for a very long time. you are going to have to change the way you live a little bit, right? What are the things that you can cut out of your life right now? What are expenses that you can cut? What are things that are not necessary? And pretty much standing in your truth just means accepting that it is what it is. It doesn't matter that we overreacted or underreacted. It doesn't matter who's the politician in office, who's in charge. They're making the wrong decisions.
Right.
I mean, all these things are out of our hands. You can't control any of it. The only thing you can control is yourself.
Exactly.
That's it. And so you have to stand in your truth and accept that this is the circumstance. And guess what, Aki? No one's better off. I mean, the same wind blows on us all, right? There's not, your neighbor down the street is not better off. We're all in the same situation. The only difference is, how are you going to be able to capture the opportunities that are coming? So first, stand in your truth and figure out, what can you cut? What are the moves? Don't wait. Don't put your head in the sand. You have a responsibility to your family. If you're an investor, to your investors or to your employees. I mean, you have to make decisions, and these are going to be some of the toughest decisions that you'll ever have to make in your life. But you have to make those decisions. Number 2, 2020.
Okay, so before you go to number 2, let me just make sure that we capture that. So stand in your truth is number 1, and that's pretty much where you accept the status quo. You know what? Here we are. COVID-19 is here. Things have changed. The market has changed. The way we work has changed. Income may change. Certain things have changed in your life, and you need to pretty much accept the fact that things have changed and look at what is your current reality situation. Would you agree with that? That's standing your truth?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of people, I get the call, and I spent like 10 minutes talking about, what they lost in the stock market. I lost, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. It is what it is. I mean, you're not better off than anybody else. I mean, or you're not worse off than anybody else. At the end of the day, accept it, move on.
Okay, so that's stand in your truth.
Stand in your truth, yeah. Number 2 is, now you got to go into building relationship mode.
Right.
This is a great opportunity to solidify connections, connect with people that now you have their undivided attention. Podcasts like you're doing here, Aki.
Right.
This is a great way to connect with people. Invite someone. I mean, this is a time where people are sitting at home and probably don't have very much to do. It's a great time for you to get high-level people on your podcast, or just on a Zoom conversation, or just build those relationships with key people that are going to be beneficial to you later on. Things that you were supposed to be doing anyways, but you never had time to do, right? So this is a time to build relationships, solidify relationships, and it's not you're not trying to create a transaction. It's just like reaching out to people, your family, friends, key people in your life. Hey, how you doing? How's it going? Clients, customers, investors, family members, employees. It really doesn't matter. Tenants. Build those relationships, because they're going to be valuable later on.
Okay, so building relationship, that's number 2. And you've given us some examples. My next question would have been, who are, from a real estate investor perspective, and others who are aspiring to be real estate investor, who are key people that you would say in that bubble? So you've mentioned clients, you've mentioned customers, investors, and tenants. Anyone else that you would say could be considered like a key person as a real estate investor?
I would say your investors. So if you are in a position where you are a managing partner, where you are putting together deals, you're syndicating deals, and you're raising money, this is the perfect opportunity to start getting out there, communicating. Someone that has a high net worth, a month ago, they didn't have any time available to get on a phone call with you or on a Zoom call with you.
Right.
Now people have time. Reach out to those high net worth individuals, and not trying to create a transaction, but just to make a friend and see how someone else is doing, because this is a time to solidify those relationships. Remember, we're the average sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Right.
This is the time to take inventory on the people you're spending time with, and now choose your peers, the new people you're going to be spending time with. And this is a huge turning point for a lot of people, because we're headed into the biggest wealth transfer that mankind has ever seen, right? So in the next 5 to 10 years, wealth will transfer, will change hands, is what I mean. And you're going to be a different person if you are able to capture these opportunities. So number 2 is, build those relationships. And number 3 is be ready. Get yourself ready to take advantage of the opportunities, so you can capture the opportunities that are coming your way. What does that mean, get ready? Make sure you are in a cash position, right? Right now, you said it, real estate interest rates have gone down, and they're going to continue to go down. We will see negative interest rates right here in Canada. Great time to refi your property or your existing properties, and just have money sitting there, so when the time comes, you're ready to take on that opportunity.
Exactly.
Being ready means, you know what, maybe you don't have access to cash, but what about the credit? Maybe you can call your credit companies and say, listen, can you
extend that line of credit?
Yeah, extend that line of credit, so you can be ready and have something there. If you see an opportunity, you have the cash right there. Of course, we're not talking about using these lines of credits or any type of credit card, which I happen to call investment cards, to buy stuff and toilet paper or what have you. I know toilet paper is important, and I'm not judging anybody, but the credit should be used in order to invest. That's rule number 1. And so be ready. You're better off being ready and not getting the opportunity than getting the opportunity and not being ready.
Okay. So essentially, when you talk about the be ready and the credit cards and whatnot and refinancing, as far as the credit card, I always tell my viewers know that I'm not a huge fan of high interest debt and people carrying it over, but there is such thing as leveraging debt for investment purposes, and that's completely different. Obviously, we're not talking about people like Alfonso said, increasing the credit limit and out of fear going on Amazon and buying everything to just stack up their home, or buying more paper towel, or toilet paper or whatever it may be.
We're not judging, Akeem. We're not judging.
But we also understand. But we also understand that fear comes with impulsive behavior, right? And sometimes you just got to take a step back and realize, what, if I've done that, it's to put my family in a better position, and what's the best thing to do to leverage for that, as opposed to, buying all these things that just start hoarding your home, right? So I think I really like what you said there about, pretty much positioning yourself and getting ready for when you need to make that big. So what are we getting ready for? I guess that's the question at this point.
Okay, and that's a very good question. What are we getting ready for? We're going to be entering a time where some of the best companies are on sale. Let's talk specifically about the stock market, because when you enter the stock market, as Warren Buffett likes to say, you are buying a company. You're not buying a stock, right? So I'm not saying like, oh, get in there. I'm not trying to create a speculation. You just have to be rational about how you invest. And, and one of the best and greatest investors of our lifetime, Warren Buffett, he talks about investing into things that you understand,
Exactly.
investing into companies that can stand the test of time. For example, I think that Mickey Mouse will stand the test of time, right? And when you see a stock like Disney World, just hit rock bottom, well, we know that no matter what happens, they'll, even if they need a bailout, they're going to be okay because
Mickey's
Mickey
not going
Mouse,
anywhere.
exactly, Mickey's not going anywhere, right? And so, and by the way, I wouldn't say put all your money there, but it's a great opportunity to buy a company,
Exactly.
buy Disney World, buy Bank of America. The last time I made about $85,000 in Bank of America, 2008. So 2008, Bank of America dropped to under $2 a share when they were where they were trading at $60 a share right before everything crashed.
Right.
And so, this is what we're talking about. Be ready for opportunities like that. Be ready for the real estate to be on discount, right? What will happen, and I don't have a crystal ball, Aki. Nobody really has a crystal ball, so I'm just going to speak from experience.
Exactly.
For the most part, the second they tell us, you know what, guys, we have what do you call it? Stop the curve, or what are they trying to say now? The
bell curve?
No, the curve of the C-19. They want to.
I stopped watching the news for the past 2 days.
Yeah, so they're saying there's a saying like stop the curve or slow down the curve. I can't remember.
Oh yes. Okay.
I can't remember
the spreading of it. Yes.
I can't remember the expression, but at some point they're going to say, guys, you can go outside. Don't worry, right? And so because of all these stimulus packages, and I don't know if you've done any research on these stimulus packages. 151 countries have been affected by the COVID-19, and as a result, everybody's gone into isolation. The world economy has pretty much come to a halt. Now, government has to step in and bail everybody out.
Exactly.
Now, the U.S. Right now they passed a bill close to $3 trillion. By the time they're done, Aki, they're going to be at $10 trillion. Canada as well. We'll hit $1 trillion for sure. We'll hit $1 trillion. That's just us. I mean, I think for the very first time in history, we're going to be kicking around the word gazillion dollars. Okay, I don't I don't doubt it for 1 minute that 151 countries will have to take on a lot of debt to be able to get things going again. Right. Now, for the most part, that's going to create a surge into the marketplace. People have money. They've been in isolation. Now they see and feel the freedom, and they're going to be grateful. And it's going to be, heaven on earth, where people are going to be walking around wearing linen. There's going to be hugging. I'm being very cheeky right now, but
sometimes we need a bit of humor. I mean, it's so cloudy out there with all the
exactly. You got to see things this is what's going to happen. People are going to be excited, and things for the most part will go back up, right? It's going to be natural. It's going to be like all of a sudden there's nothing, and then there's a surge of its spending, and then it's just going to kind of trigger everything back up.
Right.
Somewhere, I would say before Christmas or after Christmas. Remember, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm just speculating here based on experience and what I've seen in the past. Someone will ask the question, guys, how are we going to pay for all this?
Yep.
And then this is where uncertainty and everything is going to come tumbling back down. And I think it'll be one of the biggest recessions that we're in a recession right now. What they're trying to avoid with the stimulus packages is the entire world going into a depression, which is horrible to say, horrible. But as you know, some of the best companies in our lifetime have been started during recessions. Opportunity and wealth transfer happens during recessions. The last depression, you know, there were people made, you know, created and changed lives, and you know, came out of it, you know, extremely wealthy. And so the question is not whether we're going to get through this. The question is going to be, to your listeners, Aki, how will you look like on the other side?
Exactly, exactly. And how are you preparing yourself for the other side, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You know, I really love what you said there. And I guess if you are, you know, getting ready now, from a real estate perspective, should you be looking right now, would you say, in investing on properties, or should you wait for that big crush
Yeah.
when it's there?
So it's a good question. I believe you can make money in every phase of these cycles, right? So we're just cycling out is what's happening right now. It's forced, but it is what it is. There's an underlying message here, and I think the viewers should know that if you think about it, we've only been pretty much under this isolation for 2 weeks. Am I right, Aki?
Yeah, I think we're now at like week 3 or so.
Week 3, and it seems like the world is about to collapse, right? In terms of economically.
Yes.
And so that raises another issue, liquidity, right? And so when there's no liquidity in the world, you're one paycheck away from losing everything.
Yeah,
That is
living paycheck to
people,
paycheck.
like, yeah, people are living paycheck to paycheck. That is not that's not good news for the governments, people. That just makes us realize that we're not as liquid as we thought, and at any time this could happen. You know, and by the way, I'm not a health expert whatsoever, but I was watching some commentary regarding C-19, and it could cycle back. We could be doing this again next year.
It's insane,
right? And so, you know, that uncertainty, people just get scared and they contract, right? And it's normal. It's normal. And so, you know, I want to make sure that the viewers here understand that, you know, it's an issue of liquidity in the world, because you should be able to go 1 or 2 months without a paycheck or what have you. You should have 6 months reserve, right? But no one listens to any of this, right? No one's thinking about all this. So going back to your question regarding real estate and what you should be doing, you need to change the strategy, right? A lot of lenders right now, before they're giving mortgages, we're not talking about refining the mortgage, but if you're getting a new mortgage right now, lenders are starting to ask, do you have 6 months of mortgage payment in your bank account? Right?
It's almost like it's a complete change, because normally when I talk about your emergency fund and having 3 to 6 months of expenses saved before doing major investment, it's almost like now lenders are realizing, hey, wait a minute, we don't want all deferred mortgages. Exactly. So now we're asking people if they have a rainy fund.
And that is what they should have done in the first place, because what happens is, you know, a situation like this, which is unfortunate, but and by the way, I'm not a health expert, but if it is what they're saying it is, that we need to isolate ourselves just to save lives, because I'm not part of the vulnerable sector, like older people or younger people. I'm pretty much, I know if I were to get C-19, I would probably be okay, right?
Yeah, we hope, right?
But the reason we're isolating is to save our grandparents, save our parents, save the people that are vulnerable. And so the problem is, people don't have enough funds there available to survive not even 2 weeks. And so that's an underlying issue that has come up, you know, has come to the forefront because of this C-19. And so now lenders are asking, borrowers to have, at least 6 months of mortgage reserves. Not all lenders, but a lot of lenders, which means, there's lack of money in the real estate space, which creates a great opportunity for people right now. Because your question is, what should people do right now? Well, right now is a great opportunity if you have the right education and you know how to put deals together. Right now it's a great opportunity to go out and negotiate creative deals where you might have some seller financing, or you can go in there with very low money down, because the seller is also understands that it's very difficult to get a traditional mortgage. And I'm talking about the multifamily space. And so also, if you're going to get a mortgage, most lenders are going to require to have an appraisal done, an inspection. You can't do any of that right now. So, you can navigate around the situation where now the seller understands what's happening. If I was selling a property right now, Aki, I would pull it off the market.
Right.
Because
you can't even have a quick sale, right? Because as you said, you can't have an inspection done or anything like that. So buyers can take advantage of trying to purchase something and buying themselves some time. But from a seller perspective, what's the advantage of putting your property on the market?
There is no advantage. If I was a seller right now, I would pull my property off the market and wait it out until things go back to normal, right? There's no point of me exposing my property to only 25% of the potential buyers, because there is buyers out there, but they're in isolation, right? Or they're scared, or they don't know what's going to happen. And so there's only this 25% that's actually out there that is buying. So I'd rather wait until, allowed outside and things go back to normal, which they will, of course, at some point. And so if they go back to normal, that's when I would put my property on the market. So here's the opportunity. The opportunity is that the people that have the properties on the market are people that have to sell.
Yeah.
And if you have to sell,
this is a little bit of desperation there.
Yeah. And you know what? There's many reasons why somebody might be motivated, whether it's a death, divorce, disease, or disaster. Life still happens. We forgot about all the other problems that the world has because of this COVID-19. But guess what? Life is happening. There's divorces right now happening. People are in desperate need to sell their property, and you are not in a position to take advantage, but you can be in a position to help someone and relieve them of that responsibility.
And it gives a bit more leverage as well for the buyer, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's not about taking advantage, but it's not often especially in the market that we just had just a couple of weeks, months ago, it hasn't been a buyer's market. So having now created some opportunity for buyers to have some leverage in the current market, when it comes to real estate, I mean, that's still exciting. It's not about taking advantage of people, but I'm glad that buyers are at least put in a better position right now.
Yeah. And I put an offer in yesterday on an 18-unit apartment building, which is, that's pretty much, that's my MO. Like, for your audience, if we didn't talk about it, I pretty much, my focus is on apartment buildings. I like the multifamily space.
Right.
So I put in an offer, 90% seller financing, meaning the seller is going to take on 90% of the financing instead of me going to a traditional bank, going through qualifications, this and the other thing. Now I'm in a position where I can help the seller's property, but I'm going to need these specific conditions, and not because I'm trying to be mean, because that's what the market dictates.
That's amazing. And definitely, Alfonso, we need to talk.
Yeah.
It's that's a great deal. 90%? Yeah. That's insane. So yeah, that's amazing. Okay. So definitely, if you're a seller, unless you have to sell, it may not be the best time for you to put your property in the market. If you're a buyer, there's some leveraging that you can do. And if you have done those steps that Alfonso has said, essentially you've accepted the status quo, you're taking your time during this period to build relationship and to be ready, then you can really leverage from this sort of turnaround in the market where buyers now have a bit more sort of a opportunity than sellers would have. So that is absolutely amazing and great information. Alfonso, I guess my next question for you is, some of us are landlords, right? And what advice would you have? And you are this guru landlord with multiple units and multiple properties. It's also a very sort of unpredictable time for landlord, where we've heard even some government official make certain statements that could motivate tenants. We'll leave it at that. But what are some of the things that you can do during this time as a landlord to help mitigate rental income loss?
Well, let's start with before we got into this. So I've been in the education space in training. I've been training people on real estate for the past 14 years. And I have a very set formula that I share with my students. And that formula is very, very conservative. And for the most part, sometimes people pushed against it because they're like, well, the property is going to go up in value. And, I don't need to have, repairs and maintenance or a vacancy allowance, things that, for the most part, I would say that's speculation. You always, at the end of the day, want to make sure your formula is intact. Another part of my teachings were the idea that the single family door was, having that one door, that single family is one of the worst investments. Because if that person moves out or for whatever reason they can't pay, you are now 100% vacant, or you have zero income coming in from that particular property.
Exactly.
So I would try to push people towards multifamily so that you have multiple choices, multiple different areas where money can come in.
Right.
And then ultimately, I would try to steer people to invest into multifamily apartment buildings. I stay away from retail space. I stay away from Airbnb. I stay away from student housing. I stay away from a lot of other good ways to make money. But for me, I said, well, you know what? If I'm going to make my business Armageddon proof, okay, then what is the only thing people are going to need? Well, they're going to need, food, water, and they're going to need a roof over their head.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my model going into it. And I think for the most part, this is why, April 1st came and we were successful in collecting the majority of our rents. I would say 95% of our rents. There's that 5% that for whatever reason, they weren't either unable or maybe some of the government benefits were late, or they're going to come in on the 15th or 16th, and we can work with those people. Of course, we always have to be sympathetic, but for the most part, we can sleep. We're not worried about our asset class. It doesn't matter what's happening in the market because we know that those rents are going to come in. And so if someone right now is in trouble where for whatever reason they cannot, their tenants can't, pay their rent or whatever, I would say go right into communication mode.
Right.
Communicate with your tenants, work with them, see what's happening. Don't put your head in the sand. This is not time to be relaxed. Take action. Call them, see what's happening. Of course, we need to be sympathetic about what, the situation, and, but they need to understand that rent is rent. Tenant agreement it is a legal binding agreement. And at some point, they will have to come up with this rent. And so you don't want to be in a situation where they're too far behind and they'll never be able to catch up, right?
Right.
There's a lot of miscommunication coming from the government, from the government's point of view, where they're telling people, oh, your landlords are getting deferrals, which is not true. Not all landlords are getting deferrals. And for any landlords out there, if you don't need this deferral, don't take it.
Exactly.
You're making the situation worse. Just if you believe that if your tenant has the ability to pay the rent and they don't pay the rent, if you believe that's wrong, it's the same goes for you, right? What goes around comes around. So if you absolutely need this deferral, I would say, call your lender, your institution, and make arrangements. But make sure before you make that arrangement that there's not going to be any penalties, or your credit is not going to be harmed in any way, or this is not going to be a little black mark against you borrowing money in the future. So I would have all those things, and I would take all those things into consideration before getting a deferral. The best thing to do is communicate with your tenants and work with them.
Thank you so much. It's true, right? As you said, it's sort of a shared responsibility, tenant and landlord. So keep the line of communication open. And, tenant, at the end of the day, if you're a tenant, even if you defer for so long, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you will never be able to catch up. So do your best in coming up with something and coming up with an agreement with your landlord. And so this is really all good. And if you don't have to take the defer, don't take the defer. And frankly, although the landlord tenant board, right now, they're not taking any notice application, but all that will be lifted. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where, as a tenant, you're now, after all COVID-19, you're in a position where you have to be evicted because you continue not paying, right? So long story short, let's all work together through these very difficult time. So much wealth, so much knowledge. We could sit here all day, Alfonso, but
Absolutely.
I know that your time is valuable, and we'll have to definitely have you back on the podcast, maybe post COVID-19, to kind of see how people have leveraged, how you've leveraged, and what other advice you have. The only other question that I have for you, Alfonso, and this is kind of like a question that I ask at the end. So if there was a list of priorities, what would you put as the most important to the least important? 3 things: power, love, and wealth.
That's very hard.
I know.
I would say love, number one, right? Love is the closest thing. If you were, and I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God, and the closest way to the closest description would be love, and I think that I would put that number one, and everything else I think will any other one could, what did you say?
Power, wealth.
Power,
love, power, wealth.
Yeah, I think any of those are interchangeable.
Right.
But I think love, number one.
I absolutely love it. There you have it, everyone. Wisdom from Alfonso Cuadra. Make sure to follow his YouTube channel called Alfonso Cuadra, spelled ALFOS. No, let me say that again. ALFONSOCUADRA. Subscribe and click the bell button so that you can get any update when he posts stuff on there. And make sure to follow us on Instagram as well at financially_savvy girl for daily motivations for your personal finance and updates on our upcoming events, including when the ban, the isolation is lifted, the event where we will have Mr. Cuadra as one of our guest speakers. And also follow the podcast Financially Savvy Girl on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor, and sign up for a newsletter at www.financiallysavvygirl.ca. Until next time, thank you so much, Alfonso.
Thank you, Aki. Thank you for watching. We want to know, what do you want to see on the next video? Comment down below, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified the next time we're doing a video, like, dislike, we don't care!